G'day,
Hey,
G'day.
Jono. How you doing?
Went live right with a mouthful of coffee.
That's all right. Look. Go ahead and take a second. Let's do this.
You can do it.
All right. Is that better? What time is it over there? It's like
It's good.
11, 11
It's
a.m.
it's midday. It's
Okay.
midday tomorrow for
All
you.
right. All right.
Here I am in the future. All right. So listen, I'll give you some news.
Okay.
Glenn and Belinda put down their deposits for the Egypt tour. They're coming with
Yep.
something. Hey, Daniel. G'day, Daniel. Hey, and there's Dave.
All
Daniel, where
right.
were you last week? We missed you.
Yep.
Um,
Well, he's back this week. That's all that matters. As long as
that's
you
all that
don't
matters.
drop off. If you keep coming back, you can miss every now and then, I guess.
There you go. And Dave Tyler, g'day, mate. Yeah, Glenn. Shout out to Glenn and Belinda. They put down a deposit for the Egypt tour and the Israel tour. We're going to have them for the whole time. I'm really looking forward to that. And
Wait, did you say they're going on Egypt, Jordan, and Israel?
Israel.
Outstanding. Okay, that's what we want. I know that
So
not
there's some news.
everyone can give up that much time, but if
Hey,
people
Patty.
can, that's the perfect thing. Hey, Dave. Hey,
Mhm.
Patty. Daniel.
That's right. Oh, by the way, to your viewers, if you do come on both the tours, you get a $100 combination discount.
That's
So
right.
Tanakh Tours, TanakhTours.com. Look, there it is on the screen. Go there, drop
Look,
your deposit.
let me do this, Jono. Hold on just a second. Watch
Go ahead.
this.
Go on.
Let me see if I can share this screen. Hold on. I'm trying something new here. Let's see.
Hey, look at
this.
that.
Here's the screen. That's where you go.
All right. That is where
TanakhTours.com. That's you'll
beautiful
know
view of
you're
the
there
Temple
when you
Mount
see
from
this
Mount of Olives.
beautiful picture. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll be doing that.
All right.
All right. So
we still have room, though. I know that we've got quite a few more signed up for Egypt, Jordan than we do Israel, but that one also is getting quite a few people.
well, let me. I better not do this now, but the Egypt Jordan tour is filling very, very quickly. If you are wanting to join us, and I know I'm talking to people who are wanting to join, you got to get your deposits down fast because space is limited. And Ross looks super low res, says Daniel Lee. I know you do. You're
Do
all
I
fuzzy.
really?
I mean, you're fuzzy
All right,
most of
look,
the
let
time,
me
but you're
try
even more
something.
fuzzy.
Oh, keep talking. I'm going to turn
You-
my light on.
You go and you go and do that. Yeah, no, the Egypt Jordan tour is filling very, very quickly, and the Israel tour is coming along quite nicely. We've filled minimum numbers on both of these tours, and really looking forward to getting back there, dear listeners. So, for those who dear viewers, those who don't know, 2 legs this year of the Tanakh tour. The first being the Egypt Jordan tour. We're starting in Cairo. We're going all the way down to Luxor. We're taking I believe, a cruise on the Nile to Aswan, and then we're flying over to St. Catherine's, the traditional Mount Sinai. There, we're ascending that. That's going to be interesting, and then a whole bunch of stuff in between. Then we're crossing from Nuweiba across the Gulf of Aqaba to Aqaba, and then we're looking at doing things like Wadi Rum and Petra. Got to do Petra, the Wadi Mujib, Mount Nebo, Amman, a bunch of things in Jordan of very high biblical significance. And then we are doing the second leg of the Tanakh tour, and that, of course, is Israel. Will be crossing over from Jordan into Israel. So there is still room, dear viewers, and we would love for you to join us. And Dave and Patty are going to be there, of course. G'day, Charles.
That's right. Hey, look, they can't take too long, though. They need to go ahead and sign up because we want to get this. We want to make sure that we get them on the bus. So at the rate it's going now, they need to sign up sooner rather than later. That's all we're saying.
Mm-hmm. Now, listen, we can talk more about that later on. But what I wanted to ask you about was something that popped into the news today in the archaeological world from Israel. My understanding is that it is a piece of pottery that has Paleo-Hebrew inscribed and mentions a character that appears in the Tanakh. And we're always very excited when something like that happens. What's the details?
I tell you what, there are quite a few things that are going on, but this, as you said, really has taken the news by storm. In fact, let me go ahead and pull this picture up. I think people have probably seen this. This happens to be the article or a photo of the page that came out in Haaretz about this inscription naming a Persian king Darius. Now,
Oh, hang on. Is this paleo? What are we
yeah,
looking at here,
well,
Ross?
it's Aramaic actually. It's
It's
Aramaic
Aramaic.
inscription. But the interesting
Ah,
thing about this, people often wonder about the various Dariuses, to
the
kind of use a
various
play on
Dariuses.
word.
It's a bit
Yeah,
of a
that's
tongue
right.
twister.
So which Darius in English we often pronounce it Darius? Is it Darius? Is it Darius? Or is it as
What you're
the
telling me is
Hebrew?
that this was once a very popular name. Do we still have Dariuses
Well,
today? We
the
still have various
Hebrew
Dariuses?
the Hebrew version is Daryavesh. But look,
Oh,
it says which Darius or Daryavesh exactly. The pottery fragment found by chance, a chance visitor to Tel Lachish in Israel, has all of three words, but they include the name and the date. So let's unpack this a little bit, Jono. It's rare that we find a name that we can tie directly to the biblical account. It's
mhm.
even more rare when we can put a date. So here's what happens. These two young guys go to Lachish. Now, we've been to Lachish.
We've been
I think
there.
it was it 2019? One of the things that was interesting about, I know it was, I looked at the photograph today. It just hit me. I was making sure in my mind. Yep, 2019. Now,
Mhm.
remember at that site, they have all of remember the chairs
The
with the
chairs.
names of the kings of
That's right, and the
Judah?
backs of the chairs represented the length of the reign, and the
That's right.
highest, back to the highest back on the chair was Menashe, who you just recently talked about in your, what was that, episode number
11.
11 on your
Yep.
Jeremiah, classes, every Shabbat. And, yeah, who reigned 50 years.
Yep.
And,
And if you read Kings, by the way,
mm,
on that point, if you
go
read
ahead.
the book of Kings, what you'll find is that according to the writer of Kings, Menashe was a bad guy and went to his grave a bad guy. If,
Mhm.
however, you read the chronicler, if you read the
Chronicles.
account in Chronicles, yeah, he was bad, but he repented and
He
God
repented,
forgave him and
and God brought him
everything
back.
was beautiful. Yeah.
And there was even, in Chronicles, it refers to, some kind of reform that he implemented, although he did
Yeah.
not remove all the high places and so on and so
Right.
forth, and,
Right.
so he didn't quite. So which one do you believe? Which one do you believe? Because 'Cause they're both very different accounts.
Yep.
Nevertheless, now someone's saying Manasseh reigned 55 years. Did I get that wrong? Was it 50 years or 55?
I don't know. I'll have to double check that. I'm not
Have to
sure,
double
but
check that, but you may be right about that.
that's
G'day,
P
Timothy.
Hummer. Yep. Good
Timothy's
day,
there.
P Hummer as well.
Now
So we'll
we were in Lachish, and we did enjoy not just visiting that site and sitting in those chairs, and it's a good photo opportunity, but we wandered around and very deliberately looked. And once you start, you can't stop, can you, Ross? When you start
yep.
looking around these sites on the ground for pieces of pottery. Now, some of our participants have found some really nice pieces of pottery and pottery that purports to be quite old. You know, it's always a good little souvenir to take a little piece of ancient pottery home with you. But to
Yep.
find one that has writing, and not
Right.
just writing, but the name of a biblical character, and not just the name of a biblical character, but a date. Is This is what you're telling me, and they found it there
Yeah.
at Lachish, and we didn't pick it up. We probably
No.
walked over it,
Oh,
Ross.
clearly we just walked right by it. In fact, now that I look at the shape, I think I remember seeing that piece and I almost picked it up. No,
If only if you'd picked it up and looked underneath, then
well,
you would have picked up a
let me
treasure.
tell you about this now.
Mm,
So, even if we didn't see it, these two young guys are walking around, and this guy named Elon Levy and his mate Yaakov Ashkenazi are
mm.
both walking along. A lot of people do this, just like we did. And Elon picks up this piece of pottery. Yep, look at those jar handles there.
See,
Yep.
we probably picked these up at Lachish. It wouldn't surprise me. Just jar handles. They're easy to identify, and you're like, oh yeah, make a good little souvenir. And I've got them
You mean
here.
you mean you bought those at an antiquity shop? But anyway,
Okay,
so so the interesting thing
I mean,
about this is as they pick it up, he picks it up and he flips it over, because this isn't the first piece he's picked up. He's picked up several as he walks around. He flips it over, and one of the things that he gets shocked, because he describes how his hands begin to shake, Jono, because he sees writing. Now, the Aramaic characters are the characters that we know, those of us who study biblical Hebrew. So it's not paleo. This guy is actually able to look at it, and he thinks he
And
can make
identify
it out.
immediately.
So
Yeah.
he immediately calls the IAA, the Israeli Antiquities Authority, and Sa'ar Ganon comes out there, Ganor, and he picks it up. They take it back. They take it to a lab, and they begin to do some work. Now, they're all immediately, the first thought that crosses your mind is, man, this has got to be a forgery. You know, the initial response, almost without exception, is to side on the side of caution, to say it
You're not
can't be
allowed to
real.
find anything that's too good to be true, Ross. You just can't do that. Those things,
No,
it's not right.
no,
It's got to be a
no,
forgery.
that's right.
Mind you, it is. Isn't it remarkable how clear these letters are? It's a beautiful piece.
What's that?
I said, isn't it remarkable though how clear these letters are? I mean, obviously, as soon as he picked it up and he saw it,
Yeah.
he really understood what he was holding in his hands. Go ahead.
Now, from what I understand, the IA takes it back to the laboratory where they go in, they do some work, and they have to do several things. They have to run it through some scans. Now, the place that they take it is the same location where, when a scroll is discovered, like for instance, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Qumran scrolls, this is the same laboratory where testing of that nature would go on. So they do a couple of scans. They photograph it with the camera that they use on things of this nature. And what they begin to realize is this is not forgery. This is very, very real indeed. It's a genuine artifact. And so the next phase is to send it to cleaning. So they have to take it, they get it cleaned where they can even read it more, because now, first of all, part of the process of declaring it authentic is checking to make sure that there's a patina, a coating that is ancient that covers over the letters, right? Well, that patina, including salt deposit, is thicker in some places. Now, forgers can fake this too, but they arrived at the conclusion this is authentic. Of course, you know, there are always going to be people debating both ways. We'll see as the storm clouds clear how this goes out. But they test it, and once they clean it, they find another letter that makes it very clear. So here's what it says. It's year 24 of Darius, of King Darius. Now, the reason they can put a date on this, like it's interesting, because they know it's not the other Darius. Remember, I talked about various Dariuses. It can't be the second Darius because he's too late. So the second Darius is 423 to 405. That's not even 24 years. So let me make that point. The other Darius, Darius the first, Darius the first, King Darius, his reign is from 522 to 486. So they know that's more than a 24-year reign. So if you go from 524 and you count 24 years, we now know that this ostracon, this inscribed potsherd, dates to 498. Now that's pretty specific. Now there are a lot of things that this tells us. Number one, it's well known that Lachish is an important site. It's mentioned 22 times in the Hebrew Bible. It's a very popular site. We get most of the references are from the period presented in the biblical text in Joshua as the conquest period. So Lachish is already an important site in Canaanite times. And then it's also a very strategic key place in the monarchy period, because it's the second strongest city in Israel, or in Judah, I should say, second only to Jerusalem. So this is a big, big site. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this sort of confirms that. Not only that, but the archaeological excavations that have gone on there at Lachish have proven. In fact, when we went, the excavations all the way back to the British period during the British Mandate, archaeology is controlled destruction. You have to destroy levels to get to the area you wanted. Well, the British Mandate period wasn't interested in the Persian period, Jono. They want to go back. So they destroy a lot of the archaeological ruins until they get back to the monarchical period. And it just so happens that on the top of the ground, you and I probably stepped right over it, was the bottom tier of the Persian period. And that's where this was found. In fact, it was found not very far from a site associated with the Persian period. I'll find it in a minute. I saw it was even called something related to the Persian period. But anyway, so year 24 of Darius means it's got to be Darius the first. Now, remember, if you're familiar in the Tanakh, you get this in Ezra 3 through 6. And, so it's pretty popular in that period. Daniel chapter 6 mentions a Darius, but there's some confusion. Scholars even wonder if that's historical because it calls for Darius the Mede. And a lot of scholars say that's not a historical figure. But the timing, people might look at it and go, well, is that Darius the first? Is it the second? Depends on when you date that particular text. So this is a remarkable find. Now, I haven't seen any voices come against the claims that the IA have made for this inscription or this inscribed potsherd yet. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, as we might say. You're going to have the Christopher Rolstons of the world. Other scholars are going to be weighing in and offering their expert opinion. So I look forward to that, as I do with all these inscriptions.
But it's most certainly and definitely not a forgery. They've established that much. They're very excited about this piece because of the information. That I wonder if we will see it in the Israel Museum. I wonder if it will be on display by the time we get there.
Yeah, well, there's a remarkable video that's out right now on Biblical Archaeology Review's site, and I posted it on my Facebook page. And it gives a really good overall summary of the find. It features Saar from the IAA. He's describing this, and then they interview the young man, Elyon Levy, who discovered it. And he even says when he picked it up, Jono, he's looking around like maybe there are cameras capturing, because it's like a prank. He thinks somebody's playing a prank on him, but it wasn't. And so anyway, they interview the gentleman, the professor from the lab who does the investigation and the research, and all of these people interviewed on this video are saying, hey, this is authentic. So
it's the real deal.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, it really does, because as you well know, when we visit places like Lachish, or if we visit places like Shiloh or Tel Arad or any of these Megiddo, or any of these very ancient tells, the whole group, after a little while, starts walking around like this.
Yeah.
And looking at pieces of pottery, picking them up and having a look. And because it is prolific, there's just broken pieces of pottery absolutely everywhere. And you never know if you're going to pick one up and turn it around, and there might be something very significant on it. So
that's right. And just remember that in antiquity, one of the things that was used as a means of communication are pieces of pottery. That's why we refer to this as an ostracon. This piece of pottery is written, and some have already begun to propose that perhaps this was sort of a receipt, a receipt for perhaps paying tribute or taxes, during this particular time. During the Persian period. Now, the biblical account, by the way, of Darius, he's very kind to the Judeans, right? You look at the Persians back then, and they're very open and universalistic in the sense, like go build your temple, you Judeans, and help yourself, do whatever. And by the way, I'm going to need you to send some money. Maybe there's some of that going on. But either way,
Sure.
So,
Hey, by the way, Dave Cole just dropped in. G'day, Dave. It's been a
hey,
while.
Dave Cole, good to see you. And I see Chuck Dobbs. Nice to see Chuck
Yeah,
on.
yeah, there he is. Good stuff.
Yeah.
No, fascinating. So that is definitely the headlines for archaeological news in Israel at the moment. Go ahead.
One other thing, and I want to say something else about Lachish. In
Hmm.
fact, I want to just kind of talk about Lachish tonight, with one exception. There's an article in Biblical Archaeology Review.
Yes.
I don't know if you've read this, but for those of you,
is this Matthew's
yeah,
article?
Matthew
Okay.
Shelley
Yeah.
wrote a book. It's called "Set in Stone?"
Mm-hmm.
Another look at the Mesha Stele. And in this article, Matthew Richelli and Andrew Burlingame challenge this recent, I don't know how to say it other than to say hype, about the mention of David on the Mesha Stele or the Moabite stone. Recently, and not just recently, but several scholars have put forth the view that line 31 mentions David, the house of David.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has been debated back and forth for quite some time. And it really ignited again not too long ago with some new photographs that had come out, which were supposedly much better than what people had in the past. And a couple of scholars said, this nails it. It says David.
I remember
Matthew
reading that.
Shelley, what's that?
I remember reading that. New technology that they applied to the stone, and they believe that they confirmed and settled it once and for all.
Once and for all.
That it does refer to the house of David. Now, there's still some wiggle room there, Ross. Is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
there's still some wiggle room. I
Go on.
tend to, I really appreciate, I like my critics to be really tough because I want just as badly as everyone else to confirm a biblical narrative or a biblical story or a personality. I mean, the Bible is my life. I love the Tanakh, but I also want to be fair. I want it to be beyond dispute. And so Matthew Richelli and Andrew Burlingame have brought forth a very interesting argument in this case. And they've said, hold the phone. We've looked at the same photographs. We've been to the Louvre. We looked at this again. And we think that while it's possible, it's not as concrete, etched in stone or set in stone as these previous writers have said. So I would say the jury's still out. Now, if you don't know Matthew Richelli, and I hope I pronounce his name right, it's the way I read it. But Matthew has also been very vocal about his views about the Moses scroll. And he claims that his belief is that the Moses scroll is fake. So it's not like I'm just saying I love everything Matthew does. What I like about Matthew and scholars of his type is that they don't let you get away with anything. They hold your feet to the fire and make you prove it beyond doubt. All right.
Which is good.
So read that article. Now, back to Lachish. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm wondering, Jono, if it's not too late, and we can discuss this offline, but I'm kind of wanting to go to Lachish again.
You want to go back there again? Look, I loved it was good. We are going to be in the vicinity because what we do on the Tanakh tour, because we have such a high rate of return in Israel, is that we try to mix it up while hitting all the highlights, every single tour. Mix it up for people that come back over and over again, and there are plenty. And g'day to Chad, one of those.
Yeah, hey Chad.
And so what we end up doing is 1 year we might focus a little further north, and another year we might focus a little further south. What we're attempting to do this year is to focus a little further south, and if we can, and we're still trying desperately to make this work, we have to liaise with the Israeli military and so on and so forth. But if we can, we want to go as far south as Harkakum, which is the only purported proposed Mount Sinai in the borders of Israel today. A potential, site for that, for Horeb. We're hoping to be able to do that, but we're going to be right down there. And look, Lachish is not that far south, but we can certainly swing that way. And I think we did that in 2019, and then we went to Sadik Boker and places like that. So, which I'd love to do it again. I really would. And
let me tell you, one of the reasons, like you and I, one of the things when we build these Tanakh tours that makes it so fun is quite often we go to places that we've really studied. Now, our tour guide is excellent already, but for instance, when we do the City of David, when we go through the tunnel, this is a subject that we've really, really researched and studied, and so things of that nature. Well, the reason I'm so interested in Lachish, not only is this most recent discovery from Tel Lachish, and Lachish is such an important site in biblical history and in the biblical narratives, but not too long ago, another discovery was announced at Tel Lachish. Don't know if you remember this. It was a Canaanite comb, a Canaanite inscription. Look at this. Israeli archaeologists find first whole sentence written in Canaanite on a lice comb. Do you remember this story?
No, I do remember that. Just refresh my memory. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it was actually the fourth excavation season at Tel Lachish in June, July of 2016 when this was discovered. It is a comb. We know it's a comb. There are plenty of examples of such combs found in the Levant, but this particular one is made of ivory, an elephant tusk, and it dates. So again, we know that Lachish has been very active as a Canaanite city-state all the way back to the second millennium BCE. Well, the interesting thing about this inscription is it was first when they discovered this comb in 2016, Jono, people were looking at the comb. They were what they were looking for with the microscope. Get this, for lice, because it appears to be a lice comb. You have one side with 14 fine teeth, and then you have the other side with 6 bigger teeth. Like one side is clearly for lice. And we know that there are writings about lice in this period during the ancient world. And now, but no one knew. I didn't know this. I just read this today. I'm reading the archaeological report from Lachish. And one of the things that it says is that they didn't know. They're looking at it. They're testing the comb for DNA for lice, and nobody saw the inscription.
Oh, really?
For 5 years.
Really?
For 5 years until in 2021. Remember, it's uncovered in 2016. In 2021, according to the archaeological report, let me see this doctor's name, Dr. Madeline Mumkuluglu. That's probably not exactly right, but Madeline, Dr. Madeline, discovers this inscription for the first time. And the inscription, let's see, what does that inscription say? Here it is. May this tusk, meaning an elephant tusk, an ivory, root out the lice of the beard and hair. May this, written in ancient Canaanite. Now, the interesting thing about this inscription, Jono, is according to paleography, it appears to represent letter forms which are only like 100 years after they believe that the alphabet is invented. Like this is old. This is an old lice comb.
Old comb.
And by the way, their investigations did show they found some lice in. I started to point to my beard. My beard is perfect. It's clean. It doesn't have lice. God forbid. But on the comb, it actually said, they actually found lice in the
Really?
comb. So it did its job. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So the
That's
comb,
that is amazing. Wait a minute. Let me just just
yeah,
just wait a minute. Okay, so they found what he's telling me is they found a Canaanite ivory comb
yep.
at Lachish. They tested it, and we're talking how old? What is it dated to?
It's 1700 years BCE. So it's a 3700-year-old comb. By the way, most of the teeth are broken off, but you can
Mm.
see the base. It's obvious it's one of these lice combs.
So most of the teeth are broken off. This is pre-Exodus. This is pre-Moses,
Oh yeah.
and 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 you're telling me that after searching with a microscope, they found lice embedded in the broken teeth of the comb. This is what you're saying,
Yeah, by the
like
way,
ancient lice.
these are dead lice. They're not like crawling
I hope
around
so.
still from that long ago. But
Dear
yeah,
Lord, it's like some sort
they
of
found lice on the
eternal
comb.
lice
The
from
comb
the
did its
Canaanite era.
job. Yeah, the
Hey,
comb
Vicky.
did its job.
Yeah,
So it had
she's saying
14.
lice comb and Ross's beard balm. That's all you
Yeah.
need.
So it had 14 teeth on the fine side, 6 teeth on the other side. Now, the
Wow.
reason they had to rely on paleography to date it, from what I've read in the report, is
Mm,
that the comb was not in situ in a layer that goes back to the Canaanite period. It was in a period, it was in a strata, like a secondary fill. Like if you're digging an area and you got somebody like Ross or Jono or Daniel Wright or the Tylers, they've done a lot of archaeology at Mount Zion, for instance. Chuck
mhm,
Dobbs has done archaeology. Daniel, I think everybody on it, all of you are archaeologists. I'm not really an archaeologist. I'm the guy that gets to haul buckets of fill. So somebody's working in a square, and they're digging and filling buckets, and someone like me is grabbing up the buckets and going, and where do you want these? Dump them there. They're dumping them. And so they find this comb in an area that wasn't the original situation.
mm,
But they're able, because of the paleography, to say, oh, this is an old comb. Look at
mm.
the paleography. We know these letter forms clearly 1700 years BCE. Now,
Wow.
what's interesting, though, and one of the reasons I want you to agree with me to go to Lachish,
Mm,
because I want to do my homework and I'll know a lot more about this dig when we get there. Again, very important throughout the Bible, mentioned 22 times. And here's the interesting thing that I did not know: 13 inscriptions from all different periods. I'm talking Canaanite. A lot of these are Canaanite inscriptions
mm,
on objects, pottery, potsherds, whatever, have been found at Lachish, and that doesn't include this latest one. So it's 14 now. This is an old report.
mm.
So this place is crawling
With lice.
with lice. Yeah, no, it's crawling with lice combs though,
Mm,
and so that I think that's interesting. It's
mm, mm.
very very important.
No, I'm sold.
Uh,
We have to look at the itinerary and see if we can squeeze that in because I would love to take the tour group there and we can crawl over the land with a fine tooth comb and see if we can pick up any interesting pieces of pottery as we did last time we were there. And it's probably about time. As you said, 2019, so it's been a number of years. Let's see if we can fit that into the itinerary. I like the idea.
Yeah, and we'll discuss some of these finer points offline. But I would wonder. I think people might want to go. Some of these people might
I'm,
want to go.
no,
Maybe they
I'm
like
thinking
it.
about it now. I think from Jerusalem to Lachish, I think we usually stop at the Valley of where do we go? Elah, the Valley of
Yeah,
Elah.
the Valley of Elah.
I think
Yeah,
it's in between, and where the battle between David and Goliath, and we always have fun pelting rocks at a target
that's
when
right.
we're there.
That's right.
All right, we'll play with this itinerary later, but I think this is a good thing.
Hey, Timothy,
We
that's
can
great.
comb the area,
Let me
Timothy.
pull
That's right.
Timothy's comment up there. Look at that. Y'all
That's
can
it.
comb the area.
Want
There
to do
you
it.
go. Comb the area for combs.
And good day
Let's see.
to Marianne that just tuned in as well.
Yep.
Good
And
stuff.
Vicky says, quoting Jono here, lice comb and Ross's beard balm. All you need.
I,
There you go.
I still have some of your beard balm.
Yeah.
Second to none. It's good stuff.
Look at that. Patty says, if they found lice, that was a damn good comb. You're not lying. It's still got, it was like the lice. You know how small a louse is? It louse is singular, lice is plural, or
I think you might be right. Yeah.
mouse and mice? Is it the same? You know how English is.
I don't know. Is it? I don't. Yep. Go ahead. Let's just
Yeah,
pretend that's the case.
louse, lice. Anyway, there is a singular, it must be louse. I'm going to go with louse.
Go with louse.
In the comb, it was like he got stuck. He couldn't get out. That's a damn good comb. Yeah.
It is. Got stuck for a few thousand years. 3.7. Amazing stuff. Now, listen. While I've got you, and I just want to ask you, and because I think the answer to this may be short, Professor Galil, is there any publication? Is there any book? Is there anything at all in regards to these finds at Hezekiah's Tunnel? Is there any update whatsoever?
There is not an update of which I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean there's not an update, but I'm watching it pretty closely. I've asked Professor Galil to let me know the minute his book comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And but I
It's
am
March
watching
now,
for
is
it.
all I'm saying. It's March
Hey.
now. I was complaining about this in November, I think, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, he told me, was I supposed to say this or not? Anyway, I think he says 2023, his book is coming out. And for our dear viewers who may or may not know what we're talking about, this particular book, Professor Galil has purportedly discovered not 1, 2, 3, or 4 inscriptions in the Siloam tunnel system, but he has found 5, Jono, 5 inscriptions purportedly, and one of those consists of 14 lines of text which mentions Hezekiah. So there we go. We're talking about biblical personalities, people we know from the biblical text in ancient inscriptions. And I pray that he truly has found exactly as he's reported.
we
What
would
he
love
has
all of this
said
to be
is,
true.
yeah, but he has come out and publicly announced this on social media. 30 some odd scholars lost their mind and said, you can't do that, Galil. You have to do this by the book, and that's not by the book. You should do it the way we want you to do it. Galil says, I'm going to do it my way. I did it my way.
So
And so he
we're
says,
waiting to see the and scrutinize the evidence. This is we're still on the edge of our seats, and it's
well,
just yeah.
But we're also on the edge of our seats for other things that Galil has promised.
Mm-hmm.
He and Stripling and others remember the other inscription that we're waiting on. And by the way, my recent trip with the Tylers and
Yes.
Ron and the Buntons, we went
to
Jerusalem. So
yeah.
Ronnie Wright,
yeah,
was over my section. By the way, let me just go ahead and say, Tracy Swanson says,
G'day, Tracy.
mouse, yes, singular. Thank you, Tracy.
There you go.
And I thought it would be
found
mouse,
a single
louse, mice, lice. You know, English is perfect. Okay. So, but Ronnie Reich is, I would say, the man on the city of David. And one of the things in our exchanges after I went to when I talked at the Albright, he mentioned in a few exchanges, because I'm doing work on the Siloam inscription right now, he said, check out my book, Excavating the City of David, where Jerusalem's history began. So I am not yet open this book other than to say, wow, this looks interesting. But I can't wait to dig into this because, Jono, we've been to the city of David on a few occasions. Some people do the dry route. Some people do the wet tunnel with me. But regardless, it is a fascinating piece of archaeological work. It uncovers what you're really uncovering there is ancient Jerusalem, biblical Jerusalem. And I want to spend some time there. I don't want to just go and we jump off the bus and we run through the tunnel of the dry route. I'd love to coordinate, and I haven't done this. So without a vow, Jono, I'd love to coordinate with Ronnie Reich and say, Professor Reich, it's your old buddy Ross. Would you please meet us at the city of David? I mean, we could buy him a snow cone or something. You know, it's
There you
going to
go,
be
snow
kind of
cone. That'll
warm.
do it. Who
And
doesn't turn up for a snow cone?
yeah, I
I'm pretty
mean,
sure that'll secure the
I
deal.
would. I
There you
would.
go.
But I think that would be really nice. We've
Mm.
talked a little bit about how we might incorporate some of this into our tours going forward. Bring in special teachers in the evenings at the hotel. We did this last year with Rabbi Tovia Singer. You know,
Mm.
brought him to the hotel. People tend to love that, and
Oh,
so if
by the way, I spoke to Tovia this week,
oh, did you
just
really?
briefly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, it was good just to briefly catch up. The line wasn't that clear. We're going to have to catch up again, maybe over the weekend. But as you know, we are telling everybody we're still ironing out the itinerary. It changes from day to day, particularly as new things are found. G'day, Belinda.
Hey,
Gave you a
Belinda.
shout out earlier on.
Yeah.
Coming on both the tours, you and Glenn. Great stuff. No, I was talking to Tovia, and yeah, we're still lining out the itinerary because as things are found and we want to go and see them, as we were just talking about Lachish, can we squeeze that into the itinerary? Let's see if we can shuffle things
Yeah.
around. So we're doing that. And I was liaising with Tovia saying, we think we're going to be in Jerusalem around this time. Meet up with us. Let's walk down to the Kotel. And
Yeah.
he said he'd love to do that with the people. So it's going to be good.
Let me say one more thing about the itinerary. When we first started the Tanakh tour in 2015, 14, 15,
15 was the first tour, yeah.
these tours are so packed. One of the things that it's that's why we have a 40% return rate is because we put in so much Bible, so much Hebrew Bible. A lot of people will ask almost immediately, "Let me see the itinerary," and quite often that because people think you have to have. I mean, look, if you're going to spend money, you want to know what are we going to do. I get that, but there are so many things that we add into these tours that we work on these until the very end because we're
till the very end.
yeah, I mean, and even on the
And
tour.
even on the tour. See, so this is you're exactly right. So this is why I'm glad you brought this up. But our the Tanakh tour itinerary is always top secret. We have a top secret itinerary. One of the reasons for that is because we love the element of surprise, and everybody enjoys that. It's great. Where are we going? Where are we now? Oh my goodness, this is where such and such happened. Wow,
Yeah.
this is so cool. But the other thing is that even up to the point of discovering something that they uncovered at a Tel just last week. Let's go there. Let's go there and see if we can check that out. Let's see if we can meet, some of the people involved. We want to be able to do that. Also, as you know, security is one of the highest priorities on our tour. Safety and security of our participants. If there's any unrest anywhere, we want to be able to have a plan B and move on
And we do.
And do that. And we do. And sometimes, and I often think of the time that we visited the goat farm that day in the Negev. Everybody loved that, and it just turned out to be an excellent plan B.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons why we do it. Now, if we had locked in an itinerary that we just told everybody, this is what we do on this day, this is what we do at this time on this day, and this is where we're going to have lunch, and da-da-da-da-da, we're absolutely locked in, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep it flexible, and we want to be able to play it by ear, and also weather. You got to take into consideration the weather. If it's pouring down rain, which by the way, we've had very, very good weather over the Tanakh tours. November is always very good like that.
Let me tell you. Let me jump in. Patty just talked about the hotel in Jordan, how fabulous it was.
Oh yeah.
The fun thing about we've been, I think twice we've been with Dave and Patty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad they're going on the tour with us because they've done the behind the scenes work with us a couple of times and not gone on the tour. But they enjoy going to Israel and Jordan anyway. So they usually do their own thing and they're chasing some exciting adventure. But happily, they're going with us this time. But it's fun because we often, a lot of people don't know this, but you and I, and usually the Tylers, will go and scout out certain locations. I remember I hadn't been to a rod, and I went with the Tylers, and you went, and then we put it on the tour. Dave Cole went. So there's a lot of investigation behind the scenes, a lot of scouting the land, if you will. Now, one thing that that I want to just circle back to what we were talking about on this Lachish thing.
Mm.
Again, we haven't announced anything, and we haven't said that we're not going to Lachish. So I'm trying to squeeze in, and part of it's my fault because, again, the world of biblical archaeology is constantly moving and discoveries. We want to go where the action is, the good action. And in this case, now that I know a lot more about the city of David, about Lachish, I'm reading up on Hatzor. We've been to Hatzor. So that was in 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of standard.
We need to get back there too, by the way. That was a suggestion from Jodelle. Jodelle said, hey, we've got to go to Hatzor. And she was absolutely right. And there's been a lot of excavation there since we were there, and it would be good to get back.
Yep. So there are just all sorts of amazing things in the land of Israel and in Jordan that we can do. But one of the main reasons I wanted to go live tonight is just to remind people about joining us on the tour, because let's face it, I'm telling you, it is a big it's a big deal. And the ultimate Tanakh tour, again, we're going to Egypt, Jordan, and Israel. When I first started talking about this a few years ago, we decided not to do it. But now we are. And think about it. If someone goes to Egypt, Jordan, and Israel, Jono, we're taking them to two of the top proposed sites for biblical Sinai.
This is absolutely, you refer to it as the ultimate Tanakh tour. This is absolutely an Exodus-flavored tour, if I can put it that way. And so we're doing that, looking forward to it. It is filling. Dear viewers, if you would like to join us, there is still room, but particularly if you want to join us on the Exodus Jordan leg of the Tanakh tour this coming November. It kicks off on the 31st of October. Get in sooner rather than later, get your deposit down, because we're running out of room. Good stuff. Now, this here, I'm glad you put this up, because there was a little bit of a glitch last week. People clicked on there. They realized that you need $50 million so that you can buy the Sassoon Codex in May.
That's right. That's right.
But it didn't quite take them where they wanted to go. This is where they want to go.
Let me tell you what happened. This is you and I are the worst.
I'm way worse
at asking for any help. And, I put this thing up. I said, oh, look, support this stream for those that want to join my Patreon. And I'm like everyone else. I get tired of people saying, hey, give me some money. So I hate to do it. Well, then I finally worked up the nerve to say, support the stream. I put it up there.
Amazing new technology with a QR code and all of that.
It looks so cool. And you know what? I didn't even do it right, because people were scanning it. And they would go because they're like, I can help Ross for a dime a day. I can give him $3 a month. But one of my friends wrote me and he said, hey, Ross, support your stream. I wanted to do it, but it didn't even took me to a dead end link. So anyway.
Can you believe it too? There was no doubt various people wanting to throw $50 million at you. You could have ended up with, who knows?
I missed it.
All right. But this is the one. Scan this. It'll take you there. You are, as I said, the Sassoon Codex. Are you planning to be there, by the way? Do you want to be at this option?
I would love to be at one of those viewings. Remember, it's going to New York. It's going to Los Angeles. The dates, I put out the dates in my recent newsletter. And I just have to look at it and see, can I get there? Because I would love to be in the room with this manuscript and see it. I don't know, is a private investor going to take this manuscript, put it in a museum or in their home, and no one's ever going to see it? But again, it's one of the oldest manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, and the Hebrew Bible is our life. It's what I love. It's what I do. So I'd love to see it. I really want to look at when could we go. And so it's going to be in New York, I think in May, if I remember right.
In May. So it's New York. Okay.
Yeah. I think go ahead.
All right. So just to recap on last week's program, it is older than the Leningrad Codex upon which our Bibles are based. It's not as old as the Aleppo. Is this correct?
That's what we believe. My understanding is that in the introductory writing in the opening part of the book, it refers to the Aleppo, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not totally sure on that.
And that that it is almost complete. It is, I mean, as we already mentioned last week, the Aleppo Codex is missing its Torah portion, but the Sassoon Codex is almost perfectly complete.
It's missing 12 leaves, Jono. 12 leaves are missing. The primary part is the opening part of Genesis from chapter 1 through 8. I think the manuscript, the Codex Sassoon that we're talking about, begins in chapter 9, and then there's a little bit of Exodus that's mentioned as missing as well.
Just a little bit, and that's why we still refer to the Leningrad, which is complete. Now, your Patreon. Before we get off this, I just want to remind listeners: if you subscribe to Ross's Patreon, you get certain things in advance before everybody else. Some information that's a little bit more sensitive, and you get.
Well, this month I'm sending, and if somebody already has it and they request another one, I'm sending any one of the 3 books that I've published through Horeb Press.
You get gifts.
I advertise that the month of February I'll be sending out These Are the Words, Essential Biblical Hebrew Vocabularies. So I'm sending that out. This particular, here you go. Here it is right here, Jono. Look, I got it up. So I'm sending this book out for those who are members of the Patreon. But anyway, so the link should work now. But, let's talk about, we need to touch base on a few things in terms of the tour. But like you said, even last night, was it last night that Glenn and Belinda signed up?
Yeah.
So people are signing up like as of right now. So
I have to update the numbers. Doug, g'day, Doug. Doug's saying he would love to go. We would love for you to join us, Doug. And by the way, anyone who does go to Ross's Patreon account and registers for $20 a month, I think, if I remember correctly, will receive an additional $100 off the Tanakh tour. And a reminder again, if you sign up to both legs of the tour, you get a $100 combination discount. There is that.
One more? Oh yeah, there's one more discount, Jono. If someone has been on a Tanakh tour with us before,
they get a loyalty. They get a $100 loyalty discount.
Off.
Yeah, with all these discounts, if you pull them all together, we're paying you to go. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
It.
Hey, look. So next week we'll get back together. I'm okay. We're a little bit flexible right now. 6:30 to 7 p.m. Central Time on Thursday evenings in the state. Your Friday morning. I did want to remind people that on Saturday, this coming Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, I'll be continuing my series on the world and words of the prophet Jeremiah. We're in episode 12 this week, and I'm still in the days of Jehoiakim. So it's getting a little bit harder for people to binge, but they could still binge that if they wanted to. You can find them on my YouTube channel. They're listed under that particular playlist, The World and Words of Jeremiah the Prophet. And we're about to get really into some cool stuff, Jono. Remember, this Days of Jehoiakim, the book of Daniel, if you read Daniel chapter 1, verse 1, it's the 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign when Daniel is taken into captivity. So we're going to be bringing in the book of Daniel into our study in the next real short period of time.
Which is an interesting thing to do in conjunction with Jeremiah. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
That is going to be good. All right, my friends. So that is.
Anything else? Anything else, Jono?
I don't think so. I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover. It's just this is good. So this Shabbat, Ross, episode chapter 12 on Jeremiah. If you haven't caught up already, I highly recommend it. It really is an exceptional series so far, and I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Do you want to give any more discounts? I mean, you've already
no more discounts.
That's it. Okay. It's already priced well. It's priced very well. And you heard Jono describe what we're going to do. Look, I'm telling you, if you just got to go to traditional Sinai and to Har Kharkoum on an adventure like that, that's worth the price. I mean, but all these other things that we're going to do, the way I describe it is we're going to take you in the footsteps of Moses and the children of Israel. We're going to bring you to Egypt. We're going to bring you out of Egypt. And listen, Jono, let's promise them without a vow, God willing, we're not going to take 40 years to cross that Sinai desert.
No,
right?
I'm pretty sure we can.
I want to do it in
that.
like 7 days at the most. 7 days. And then we're going to cross the Gulf of Aqaba into Jordan, and it's just an amazing tour. Sign up for all. Sign up tonight. And Jono, I'll see you
this time next week. This time
That's
next
right.
week. So Tanakh Tours, TANAKH, TanakhTours.com. Get on there, leave a deposit. We would love to see you this November. We're going to be back this time next week for a little bit more. Thank you for tuning in.